Hi, and welcome to This Day in History for October 24th. A little bit different setup today. I'm reading from the iPad. I don't have my microphone today. It's overcast and rainy. So let's see how we do. Today we're going to start all the way back in the year 51. That's a long time ago. And I believe we mentioned Domitian back in September on the anniversary of his death. Well, it is that Titus Flavius Caesar Domitianus Augustus, better known as the Roman Emperor Domitian, was born on this day in the year 51. In 1538, the Universidad de Santo Tomás de Aquino, that is St. Thomas Aquinas University, was founded by papal bull in 1538 in Santo Domingo in the Caribbean island of Hispaniola, present-day Dominican Republic, making it one of the first institutions of higher education in the New World. Just so you know, it did close in 1823. I'm not sure why. 1601, Danish nobleman, astronomer, chemist, and writer Tycho Brahe died. Kind of an interesting character, Tycho Brahe. He got into a sword duel with one of his friends one night when they were drinking and sliced off a portion of his nose and gave him a scar on his forehead. And someone made a false nose for him to wear for the rest of his life. Tycho Brahe. It says astronomer. Yeah, he was an astronomer. That's where I know his name from, astronomy. 1648, the 30 Years' War ends. The Treaty of Westphalia was signed, ending the 30 Years' War and radically shifting the balance of power in Europe. 1851, English merchant and astronomer William Lassell discovered Ariel and Umbriel, two moons of planet Uranus. 1861, Western Union completes the first transcontinental telegraph line, put the Pony Express out of business. The first transcontinental telegram was sent on October 24, 1861, when they linked the eastern and western telegraph networks of the nation at Salt Lake City, Utah, completing a transcontinental line that for the first time allowed instantaneous communication between Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. Stephen J. Field, Chief Justice of California, sent the first transcontinental telegram to President Abraham Lincoln, predicting that the new communication link would help ensure the loyalty of the western states to the Union during the Civil War. 1901, first barrel ride down Niagara Falls. And I found a couple of conflicting stories, and so I made my confirmation through Wikipedia. Hopefully Wikipedia knows what it's talking about. On October 24th, 1901, 63-year-old Annie Edson Taylor becomes the first person to take the plunge over Niagara Falls in a barrel. She did this for the money, but was never really able to acquire much wealth. She did, however, inspire a bunch of copycat daredevils. Between 1901 and 1995, 15 people went over the falls. 10 of them survived. Among those who died were Jesse Sharp, who took the plunge in a kayak in 1990, and Robert Overcracker, who used a jet ski in 1995. No matter the method, going over Niagara Falls is illegal, and survivors face charges and stiff fines on either side of the border. So just don't. Just don't. Don't even try it. If it doesn't kill you, you'll go to jail. 1903, American law enforcement official and Federal Bureau of Investigation agent Melvin Purvis, noted for leading the manhunts that captured bank robbers such as Babyface Nelson, John Dillinger, and Pretty Boy Floyd, was born on this date in 1903. Nicknamed Little Mel for his 5'4" stature, died in 1960 at the age of 56. Well, that's not very old. 1926, Houdini's last performance. The world-famous escape artist performed for the last time at Garrick Theater in Detroit, Michigan. 1929, the Wall Street crash, also known as the stock market crash of 1929, or the Great Crash, was a major stock market crash that occurred in late October 1929, beginning on October 24th, which happened to be a Thursday, like today. Oh my! And continued until October 29, which was Black Tuesday, when share prices on the New York Stock Exchange collapsed. 1930, John Wayne debuts in his first starring role in The Big Trail. 1931, the George Washington Bridge is dedicated. 8 months ahead of schedule, New York Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt dedicated the George Washington Bridge over the Hudson River. The 4,760-foot-long suspension bridge, the longest in the world at the time, connected Fort Lee, New Jersey with Washington Heights in New York City. This will be a highly successful enterprise, FDR told the assembled crowd at the ceremony. The idea of a bridge across the Hudson River was first proposed in 1906, but it was not until 1925 that the state legislatures of New York and New Jersey voted to allow for the planning and construction of such a bridge. Construction on the George Washington Bridge started in October of 1927. The bridge was ceremonially dedicated on October 24, 1931, and opened to traffic the next day. 1944, French industrialists, one of the founders of Renault and a pioneer of the automobile industry, Louis Renault, co-founded Renault, died at the age of 67 on this day in 1944. 1945, the United Nations was founded. The UN was established after World War II, presumably with the aim of preventing future wars. And this is me not saying anything about that. Maybe they need to take a look at that. Anyway, in April of 1945, 50 governments met in San Francisco for a conference and started drafting the UN Charter, which was adopted in June of 1945 and took effect on October 24, 1945, when UN began operations. 1948, Swiss chemist Paul Muller received the 1948 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for his, now why does it say or? Physiology or medicine? Received a Nobel Prize in, what the heck? For his 1939 discovery of insecticidal qualities and use of DDT in the control of vector diseases such as malaria and yellow fever. Yeah, that's probably where the medicine aspect comes into it. 1951, President Truman declares that the war with Germany is officially over. Fighting had actually ended in the spring of 1945, so people were kind of surprised to hear this late following that, oh, okay, yeah, the war is officially over. No job's finished till the paperwork's done, and all the documents hadn't been signed until then. 1954, President Eisenhower pledges support to South Vietnam. 1963, Sandy Koufax is the unanimous winner of the Cy Young Award. 1964, Zambian independence. The African country gained independence from British rule with the passage of the Zambia Independence Act 1964 by the UK Parliament. 1969, Richard Burton buys Elizabeth Taylor a diamond. There was you an on-again, off-again relationship. Movie star Richard Burton dazzled wife Elizabeth Taylor and their legions of fans when he bought her a 69-carat Cartier diamond ring costing $1.5 million. It was just another chapter in the tempestuous marriage that began on the Ides of March and continued thereafter in the public eye. They met and fell in love during the filming of Cleopatra in 1963. She was a 30-year-old London-born American starlet who was already on her fourth marriage, and he was a former British stage actor, also married, but known to fool around and drink on the set. Always a recipe for trouble. Cleopatra made them both superstars, and on March 15, 1964, they were married at the Ritz in Montreal. As one of the most famous married couples in the world, they commanded high salaries to appear in nearly a dozen movies together. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, The Taming of the Shrew were the only two to receive critical acclaim. The couple's stormy private life often drew more attention than their movie roles, and their extravagance was legendary. During the 1960s, they earned a combined $88 million and spent more than $65 million. They bought a fleet of Rolls-Royces, whole floors of luxury hotels, a private jet, a helicopter, and you know a pilot has to come with the helicopter. Well, it looks like we're going to have a little break in continuity here. I was recording earlier and didn't notice that my camera had shut off, so take two. Let's see, we were at a fleet of Rolls Royces and whole floors of luxury hotels, a private jet, a helicopter, and of course those things have to come with pilots, and a multi-million-dollar yacht, which also have to come with pilots and a staff. They were American royalty, Liz and Richard were, and the world watched as their lives began to fall apart. Taylor appropriated Burton's alcohol abuse problem and also mixed drugs into the stew. By 1969, their marriage was a constant cycle of verbal and physical battles that was only interrupted by the mutual presentation of expensive gifts. The famous Cartier diamond was the product of a fight they had in a restaurant one night. Burton said Taylor's hands were large and ugly, and she responded that in that case perhaps he'd better buy her the 69-carat ring that she wanted so that they would look smaller and prettier. 69 carats, I can't even imagine how big that is. I know 1 carat seems huge. Well, the flawless pear-shaped diamond had 58 facets and had been unearthed from the premier mine of South Africa in 1966. It went up for auction in October of 1969 and was bought by the Cartier jewelry firm for $1.05 million. The very next day, on October 24th, Burton bought the diamond for an estimated $1.5 million, although the exact sum was undisclosed. The diamond, christened the Taylor Burton, remained at Cartier for several days before Burton took it home and presented it to Taylor. Thousands of people lined the street outside Cartier every day to view it. Taylor and Burton became estranged in 1970, and in 1973 they formally separated, and in 1974 they divorced. They remarried in 1975, but stayed together just a few months. The next year they divorced for the second and last time. 3 years later, Taylor put the Taylor Burton diamond up for auction. The jeweler Henry Lambert bought it for $3 million and then sold it to an anonymous buyer in Saudi Arabia. Elizabeth Taylor went on to have 2 more husbands, both of whom she divorced. Elizabeth Taylor passed away on March 23, 2011. Richard Burton died of a brain aneurysm in 1984. So that story was about him buying her the diamond. We kind of got lost in the details, or I did anyway. What a pair. Alrighty, 1969, Butch Cassady and the Sundance Kid opens in wide release. October 24, 1969, Butch Cassady and the Sundance Kid, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford as a team of bank robbers in the Old West, opened in theaters around the United States. The film was a critical and commercial success, receiving 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director, and winning in the categories of Best Screenplay, Best Song, Best Score, and Best Cinematography. Butch Cassady and the Sundance Kid. 1972, American baseball player Jackie Robinson died. 1989, Swedish YouTube star Felix Arvid Ulf Kjellberg, better known as PewDiePie, was born in Gothenburg, Sweden on this date in 1989. 1995, the Braves defeat the Indians in Game 6 of the World Series, win their first MLB championship. 2003, the Concorde makes its last commercial flight. The supersonic Concorde jet made its last commercial passenger flight, traveling at twice the speed of sound from New York City's John F. Kennedy International Airport to London's Heathrow Airport on October 24, 2003. 2005, American activist Rosa Parks died. 2011, the Northern Lights became visible over much of North America due to a coronal mass ejection. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us today, October 24th. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And feel free to share this video. As always, links to my research are in the show notes. And I thank you again, and we'll see you next time. On October, okay, with the notifications, blah, 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 coffee mug. That didn't make any sense. Lightning detected 3.7 miles from Fort Worth, Texas. Now, I don't know if that means 3.7 miles from right here where I sit or 3.7 miles from downtown. It is a rainy day, so there's lightning around. I haven't heard the thunder that goes with it yet. Yep. Rain's picking up again. We might get a little thunder here in a minute. Sure would be nice if I could ever read one of these in its entirety without having to start anything over. That would be awesome. I might have to take another look at that. I'm going to have to look at that. So, plumbing happens. This is why I don't do live shows.